Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks.
Now, COSATU is saying there was nothing new in the State of the Nation address, and opposition parties are saying it's the same old song. Did you manage to pick anything new from that address?
Well, I would say the only thing new, it's about how to deal with centralizing the tender system.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for me that was new. But besides that, really on the overall, I still think the State of the Nation address was a bit too high level.
Mm.
Yes. But of course, I must indicate that the President did touch on very important issues.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about health, talked about the question of corruption, and various other issues.
Yes. The other issue that he pointed out when he was speaking off cuff was the issue of regulations to prevent arbitrary strikes and retrenchments. Now, he didn't expand on that, but what did you get from that bit of the speech?
Really, I found that a bit superfluous.
Mm-hmm.
and not really. I couldn't find something punchy in that particular message. Yes, and really, it leads to the point I was going to make, actually, that, look, the State of the Nation address, even though underlining important issues related to progress made by government in the 5 years of the administration and the last 20 years, I think what was lacking really in the address was a message of hope, which I think many South Africans really need, especially now. South Africans need a message of hope. South Africans in the various walks of their lives are faced with numerous kinds of vulnerabilities. And really, when you listen to the President addressing the nation, you do expect the President to speak from his heart, to speak to the soul and fiber of the nation. That we didn't get.
But you brought up the issue of corruption. If you look at how much problem corruption is in the country, and what government is trying to do to combat that corruption, as was said in Sona, does that not give a bit of hope, though?
I don't think it's enough. I really don't think it's enough. Because really the President allowed what I would call the formalistic aspects of the whole thing, yes, without really talking to the ideational and spiritual aspects of it. Because corruption is a symbol that there is an underlying sickness in our society. As a leader, how do I talk in such a way that I inspire hope that there is something much bigger than what his government is saying, that I can see and I can outline as part of my vision as a leader. Yes, he did speak well on corruption, yes. But at the same time, my view is that, you see, public sector corruption cannot stop if the private sector is not reciprocating, you see? Because it takes two to tango. There has to be a corrupter and a corruptee, you see? And really, I think he was very slender talking about the role of the private sector in ensuring that we deal with corruption in the public sector.
Mm-hmm. But you are not the only one who's saying probably that there wasn't much in terms of a vision, in terms of a way forward. But the other question is, could he really have focused on that, given that Parliament will soon be dissolved, we will have fresh elections and a fresh administration in a couple of months' time?
Well, I didn't expect him to outline a program of government beyond the term that is ending, you see, because that is something else. That is something to be done by a president after the elections. But I'm talking here about a message which inspires us and pulls us more closer together. He did talk a bit about social cohesion and national unity, but he could not elaborate on that. Yes, I actually felt that if the President had dwelt on the issue of social cohesion, on the issue of how we deal with our difference, on the issues of how we should display more tolerance towards one another. I think in that way he would have actually taken us to another level, because that's what we expect the president to do during the State of the Nation address.
And COSATU, in its reaction to that State of the Nation address, it says here, and I quote, that it is worrying that the economics of the National Development Plan, the NDP, are still being highlighted as a solution to our socio-economic challenges. Do you think that the NDP will remain a source of friction within the tripartite alliance?
I think the NDP is likely to continue to cause a lot of contestation. Yes, contestation by those who are actually arguing for an alternative path in order to save and transform the economy completely. And I think NUMSA is actually arguing along that line. Whereas a liberal accommodationist perspective would actually see the NDP as enough. Yes.
And they are also calling, that is COSATU, that is for a radical economic transformation. Is that possible? Is that feasible?
It will take a completely different kind of leadership to have that, yes. To invoke an alternative path is going to be very difficult for South Africa, but it would need really a leadership who will be prepared to bite the bullet. Yes, because to invoke an alternative path, it means South Africa should be prepared to face its own moment of truth. And the moment of truth could be painful. Yes, and that's what we probably need if we were to invoke an alternative economics for South Africa.
And so finally then, what should have been in SONA that was not in there?
I would say SONA had all important elements. Let us be fair. It had all important elements. But I thought the president could have fleshed out a bit some of these elements. He spoke about South Africa's submission of the third APRM report to the African Union. I thought maybe he would have just grabbed the opportunity to indicate the highlights of that particular report, so that even the people who have not read it or who won't even read it actually understand what South Africa actually reported to the African Union. Like I said, he mentioned social cohesion and national unity, but I thought if you could have just fleshed that point a bit more, you see. There were a number of very important points, yes, in the address, but I felt that this time the president has actually made the State of the Nation address too high level.
All right, we have to end it there, but it was nice to chat to you. That was Professor Kwandiwe Kondlo, a political analyst.